in the basement of a chic Soho clothing boutique on 129 Spring Street in Manhattan dwells an unassuming brick structure, an old well dating back to the 1700s with a tragic past, and a disturbing ghostly woman who haunts it. Yep, it is exactly like you're thinking, just like The Ring. In 1799, Julie Elma Elmore Sands, or better known as Elma Sands, was having an affair with a man named Levi Weeks. The lovers had to keep their affair a secret, because Elma was from a poor family and Levi was from money. So of course he couldn't have his high society family and friends finding out about Elma. It would be a huge scandal. Elma, however, who was madly in love with Levi, told all her friends, and just about anyone else who would listen to her. She was absolutely convinced that Levi was the most amazing man ever, and that he was also madly in love with her, and that she would be whisked away to the opulent life of a lady of status. But this was never Levi Weeks' intentions, because just as his name suggests, he was a weak man, controlled by lust and ego, with no concern for the woman that he was whispering sweet nothings to. So when Levi finally asked Elma to elope with him, it was absolutely not with the intention of marrying the poor girl. On the evening of December 22nd, 1799, Elma put on her best dress and confided to her cousin Catherine. Elma then walked out of the boarding house that she called home and was never seen alive again. On the cold morning of January 2nd, a group of children were playing by what was then known as the Manhattan Well, when they noticed a piece of clothing floating at the top of the water. The authorities were called and they sadly pulled out the body of Elma Sands. She had clearly been in the water for days, but there are still clear signs of bruising around her neck, and markings on her back that indicated that she had been dragged along on the ground. Because Elma had been so vocal about her affair with Levi, suspicion immediately fell on him. He was immediately arrested and going to be tried for the murder of Elma Sands. But Levi used his monetary privilege to secure two very prominent and well-known lawyers of the day, Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton. Yep, those guys. So Levi's trial became the first ever transcribed murder trial in the United States. So it became sensationalized through the country. And even though mostly everybody believed that Weeks was guilty of murder, his famous lawyers worked their magical social influence. There were multiple witnesses who saw Levi and Elma walk into the woods together. But Hamilton and Burr spun the story, claiming that Levi had no plans to marry Elma, obviously, and that when he told Elma this, she threw herself into the well. Did she put those markings on her neck and on her back also? Whatever. And after only 5 minutes of deliberation, the jury found Weeks not guilty. Obviously, not everyone was happy about the verdict, including Elma's family. And legend says that Elma's aunt, Catherine Ring, cursed those responsible for this injustice. It's said that right after the jury came to its conclusion, she yelled in Hamilton's face, "If thee dies a natural death, I shall think there's no justice in heaven." And as we know, Hamilton famously died after being shot by Aaron Burr in a duel in 1804. Also, the judge who oversaw this trial, Judge John Lansing, who was the chief judge of the New York Supreme Court, well, in 1829, Judge Lansing went missing. Somewhere between his hotel room in Manhattan and a boat dock that he was going to go mail a letter at, he just vanished and was never seen again. Now, some people think he may have just fallen in the water and drowned, but others think that he may have been murdered by prominent men in power over political disputes. But through all of that, Elma still never got justice, and many believe that's why she haunts this long-abandoned well. It was obviously never used after she was found in it, and it was just left alone. And in 1817, a house was built around the well and was used as many different establishments over the decades. Now, a magazine article written in the 1890s said, young men and maidens who pass the spot late at night testify that they can hear her scream as she vainly implores her lover for her life. And after that, the entity became known as the Spring Street Ghost. In the 1950s, the building became the popular Manhattan Bistro. And while the owners had heard the story about the Spring Street Ghost, they just put it in the back of their minds. They had a successful business going on. But the employees swore that they would see dishes flying off the tables and smash against the walls. One employee claimed to have seen an ashtray fly off the table and crash into the wall, and was quoted as saying, maybe Elma's ghost doesn't like smoking. Other typical hauntings were going on as well. Bottles would fly off the shelves, lights would turn on and off, things would disappear and then reappear where they shouldn't be, cold spots, people hearing voices when no one was around, just general paranormal mayhem. So finally, in the 1980s, the owners decided to investigate. And in the basement, under piles and piles of sand, they uncovered the well. And that's when employees started seeing misty figures hanging around the basement near the well. And more disturbingly, people started seeing the apparition of a woman with long wet hair and a long wet dress, like she had just climbed out of the depths of the well. She was usually seen weeping next to the well, just like the old story said that they could hear a woman crying near the well. The bistro closed in 2014, and soon after, the COS clothing store opened, and the head of men's design was quoted saying, "So we have a ghost, our own COS ghost. We imagine it being dressed in all white, a modern minimalist ghost." I like that. The COS communications director was also quoted saying, "We are incredibly proud to have restored the well and left it exposed on the shop floor for our customers to see and enjoy. The hauntings are less frequent these days, but every now and then, when things go missing and lights flicker, the employees of the fashionable boutique claim it's Elma. Maybe Elma enjoys the company of vibrant people and vibrant fashion, and has found some peace in being a part of people's experiences in this upscale clothing store." Could you imagine if you were down there shopping for something cute to wear and the damn Samara lookalike from The Ring climbs out of that well and is like, "Girl, orange is not your color." I would die right then, but hopefully I would not die wearing orange. Thanks, Alma.